The antidote one you just injected will allow you to breathe for 2 more hours. I'm waiting for you at the location marked on the map. Smiley face. Some smaller letters had been written below, circled by some curls. Jumanji. I almost wanted to tear the map that he had left on the steering wheel into pieces. What's wrong with this psycho? Freaking Jumanji. Referencing such an old movie, he must be an ancient freak. And I don't even have an effing driving license. I banged my head on the steering wheel and let the horn scream out my frustration. Yet, a few minutes later, not even a bird seemed to have been disturbed, not to mention any human neighbors that might have shown up to yell at me. Fine, it was just driving, right? I'd seen it in movies, how bad could it be? I tried to recall the controls in all of the racing games. Oh, and the scenes from Initial D, of course. I stepped on the brake, shifted the gear, and turned the ignition. After a series of teeth-grinding screeches, the engine finally started. It sounded exactly like an old man with asthma. The car started to move forward, slowly. I held onto the wheel for dear life, and I was able to guide it out of the warehouse. I didn't scratch the wall. Nor did I bump into the electrical pole. I kept going, stopping and starting numerous times along the way. After following the map for 20 minutes, I finally began to see other cars on the road as well. It was getting more crowded around me. At first, I thought that traffic had been slow simply because I had gotten closer to the city. But I started to realize that something wasn't right. There seemed to be too few people and too many cars. I turned on the radio. I established communication with Mars, and the anchor happened to be reporting the news. College students are gathering on the streets to oppose the recently proposed controversial draft of the educational bill. At the moment, the protesters are moving towards Mongkok. The police have arrived to maintain peace during the protest. Several blocks are currently closed to regular traffic, and impacted areas are seeing a significantly increased travel time. All drivers should remain alert to the road condition and try to avoid these areas. A protest? An alarm went off in my head, but it was too late. This cranky old car was stuck firmly in the middle of a traffic jam. I had nowhere else to go. Temporary roadblocks had been placed at several crossings that could have been used for turning. Several police motorcycles were parked nearby, their lights blinking red and blue. The policemen were directing the traffic and the cars were moving slower than the pedestrians. If I kept going like this, I'd be dead before I got past this block. I checked the map again to confirm the route Pi had drawn. Balls, he did it on purpose. Fine, if he wanted to play it Gain, I would play Toretto then. I had nothing to lose. I turned the wheel full to the left and stepped on the gas as hard as I could. The car knocked the roadblocks away and continued into the street. I kept slamming the horn at the damned college students in front of me. Soon I heard sirens screaming behind me. The policemen who had just been smiling at me a few seconds ago were now coming up towards me on their bikes. If they caught up with me, I wouldn't get to restart the game. I got through the street as fast as I could and turned onto a road that I was familiar with. Finally, there was no more damn protesting students. A light had just turned green 200 meters ahead of me. Very few people ever used that crossing, so the green light typically only lasted for 10 seconds. I knew this as I had to go through it every time I went to the supermarket. However, as the other direction was a truck exit off of the freeway that usually had a lot of cargo trucks, the red light would last for a full minute. I glanced at the speedometer. I was going at 54 kilometers an hour, aka 15 meters a second. I had to get rid of the policeman here. I drove at the same speed for 100 meters. I stepped on the gas harder, accelerating and increasing my speed 4 times over. I drove another 100 meters. I stepped on the brake hard and reduced my speed by half. Oh, this is gonna be a math thingy. In my wildest dreams, I never thought that I would be involved in a car chase with some policemen. I definitely had not imagined that I would be driving an old piece of junk that might just fall apart at any time. Still, the engine seemed to be roaring with confidence. I felt that the car was trying to tell me that he used to be a beast too. The car and I flew over the crossing, leaving a stream of black smoke behind us. Oh crap. I'd gone too fast too soon. The policeman had sped up after me and gotten through the green light too. I wouldn't be able to find another chance to get rid of them later. Yeah, but this whole plan, Jimmy, relies on the fact that the policemen are gonna go like, oh, it's a red light, I should stop. I don't think they do that in a car chase. One more police had joined the chase. In the end, I was blocked by 2 police cars at another crossing. The blinking lights almost made me blind. I was surrounded by numerous officers and their guns. I had no choice but to step out of the car with my hands held behind my head. I got slammed onto the hot engine cover. Sir, you have the right to remain silent. Everything you say will be used. Hearing these lines that I had only heard on TV and in movies did not excite me as I had expected. They said I had been accused of unlawfully driving. I don't know where they got that from. Speeding, vandalism of public property, if I could read that. Murder. Wait, murder? They brought me behind the car. The trunk was open. I saw all kinds of knives, handcuffs, shovels, and tools in it. Some of them had some sinister-looking red liquid on them. What the hell? I could imagine Pi sitting on a sofa, sipping a glass of red wine and mocking me. He must be the sickest, most devious serial killer ever. I didn't have much time left, at least not enough to convince the police that I was innocent. Well, you weren't really innocent of the speeding part. Sitting in the back of the car, all I could do was pray. My goddess of fortune, please show me some miracles. Okay, let's see if we can show some miracles, yeah. So it's gonna be some math thingy. So if you... I drove... Okay, how far? 200 meters ahead of me. And 10 seconds. 50 meters a second, so that's 60. So if you put that there, 60, then 240 meters. But then for... Yeah, my brain can't. I can't brain this. We're gonna get a lot of story here. I'm gonna sip my coffee. I just woke up, so... Here we go. In my wildest dream, something happened. Well, that wasn't it. Okie dokie, so that was not it. But what if you do this? But what if you do this? But what if you do this? Wait. So what if you do this? No. What if you do this? No. What if you do... Yeah, I swear to God, I would love to math, but again, I just woke up and I barely had my coffee, so... The light turned red just as I drove past the crossing, and a couple of cargo trucks rushed out from the other direction. The police had to stop before the crossing. Yes! Success! I drove into another alley and finally lost them. I rushed the rest of the way as fast as I could, trying my best not to attract unnecessary attention. It had turned from a flat road to a zigzag uphill climb. There were fewer and fewer lights too. Finally, I had reached the end of the road. It was the destination marked on the map. It had taken me an hour and a half. There was nothing else beyond the road but some woods. Would Pi be waiting in the woods? I got out of the car. Just as I was hesitating about whether or not I should call him, the Get Rid of the Police achievement unlocked. Hong Kong Drift. The theme song of my favorite game suddenly started playing in a nearby bush. Ah, there we go. Okay. I take it this is Jimmy. Yeah, it's a lot about Jimmy. There's a lot about Jimmy. Oh, I haven't gotten the star for those two. You know what? Let's just follow Jimmy here for a while. I was targeted by a psychopathic serial killer. I knew it sounded ridiculous, but it was true. I was even forced to play a stupid Jumanji game with him. Well, not really, because you didn't have the rhinoceros with and the guy with the gun who goes like poof, and then with the yelling of Jumanji and the rolling of the dice. And I had to clear it with one life, my real life. Standing in the middle of nowhere in the dead of night, with a cell phone hidden in the tall bushes, ringing persistently like it was calling for my life. All I could think was, Jumanji. Fuck, I wish I could just turn it off. Yes. I had no choice but to answer the phone. You finally came. It was the same chilling voice from the other night. Even though it had been modulated, the casual mocking tone in the voice was unmistakable. I walked around half of the hill. After another 5 minutes, I finally arrived at the gate to the manor, which Pi had directed me to by phone. Under the lamppost, the red brick wall seemed to be oozing with blood. There was a nameplate next to a magnificent wrought iron gate. The plate was covered with dust. I could see these words written on the plate. Apple Manor, not April. I reached my hand out and pushed the gate. It wasn't locked and it opened with a squeak. The path to the house was covered with fallen leaves. I could hear them rustling with every step I took. The thick foliage beneath my feet indicated that they must have been piling up for a long time. I took a deep breath and walked through the front door of the house, which was also unlocked. It was much bigger inside than I had imagined. The exquisite decorations in the hall were bathed in a faint and warm yellow from the lights. Lots of paintings were hung on the walls, each one of which looked like it could be worth a fortune. At the end of the hall, there were 2 closed doors, one on each side. A table was placed in between the 2 doors and a giant screen hung on the wall above the table. I saw Pi on the screen, wearing a cap and a hospital mask, covered head to toe in full black. Then he opened his arms towards me. Welcome to Apple Manor! I leaned against the wall, looking nervously around the hall. Antidote, where is the antidote? There was something extraordinary about Pi. Even though I was only seeing him through a screen, I still couldn't help but shudder. Well, now that's just rude. Pi pointed a finger down on the screen, pointing to the table underneath. I could see a metal box in the center of the table. This is your final test, and I, being the generous man that I am, have left you hints underneath the box. Once you make your decision, we can officially meet each other. Good luck. Wait, Before I could explain to Pi about the misunderstanding over molesting young kids, the signal cut off. Meanwhile, I heard a click behind me. I ran back to the front door and grabbed the handle. It was locked. Damn it. I went up to the table. An open metal box was placed on top of a white tablecloth. 5 syringes filled with liquid of 5 different colors were lying on a cushion inside the box. A pile of handwritten notes had been left underneath the box. The first one said, "Wise man's choice. Encountering something this fantastical and strange in real life had left me speechless. See, I'm totally speechless. Yes." The second one said, God, I'm bad at reading. "The antidote will save you. The poison will kill you. In these 5 syringes, the blue one is the antidote." There was no way he would just tell me the truth. It must be a trick. "The purple one is the poison. The blue one and the yellow one are different. The green one and the purple one are different. The red one is the antidote. P.S. Only one of these statements is true." Shit. I wasn't sure if it was because of my frustration or because of the poison inside of me, but I was beginning to feel lightheaded. Still, I managed to read through the last note. "P.P.S. There are fewer antidotes than poisons in the syringes. That is the God's honest truth, big brother." I needed to calm down. I stared at the 5 syringes, took a deep breath and began to think carefully. Red, blue, purple, green. I made a decision and picked up the syringe in this color. Yellow. Could it be this one? Maybe the hints were too complicated, or the poison was hindering my thoughts, but I felt like my brain had almost completely stopped functioning. It must be this one. I picked up the syringe and stabbed it into my arm. Why was the tablecloth turning red? Oh no, it was me bleeding from my nose and mouth. I couldn't! Somebody help me, please, Jimmy. Okay, so we're gonna figure out the antidote here. Okay, so what was the yellow one? The blue one and the yellow one are different. Well, the yellow one just proved to not be good, but this could be an untrue statement. Okay, so we move you up there. What if I do this? And just don't take any antidote at all? I think this is gonna kill Jimmy again. That means I get to sip my coffee. Well, now he's saying that it's the purple one, so maybe we should try the purple one next. Okay, so red one. Red one is going in. Struggled a little at first, but slowly I curled into a ball and stopped moving with my face aimed downwards. The front door unlocked with another click. Wait a second. On the side door's handle turned... What? One of the side door's handles turned and the door was pushed open. Someone walked quietly towards me. I saw a pair of squeaky clean black Oxfords. I could see a familiar reflection in the shoes. The owner of the Oxfords stopped in front of me and I heard a strange male voice say, "What a shame, game over. For you." I stabbed his leg with the syringe in my hand. I injected every single red drop into his body. "You, how dare you." For the first time, he had finally lost his calm in front of me. He dropped to his knees and began to search all of his pockets in a frenzy. He finally pulled out a syringe filled with white liquid. There it was. I grabbed the box on the table and smashed it onto his head with all of my remaining strength. Pi fell to the ground with a thud. The syringe slipped out of his hands. I caught it. "See you never, haha!" I yelled excitedly, and holding the syringe tight in my fist, I ran towards the entrance. The darkness outside looked so welcoming to me. I sprinted out of the manor, hoping the darkness would conceal. Doctor in the house solved the puzzle of the syringes. No shot! No shot! Did I just solve it by trying something stupid? I was sure that was just gonna be like a, really, you're that dumb? Huh. I sprinted out of the manor, hoping the darkness would conceal my existence from evil, forever and ever. No shot. Well, I guess I'm smart. Let's just pretend that I like looked at this and really thought about it. Is Jimmy getting into more shit? Yeah, he is. Oh, and the cat. Oh well, we might as well see Jimmy to the door here. He's gonna battle the cat. I'd been toyed with an infamous and psychopathic serial killer. Yet somehow I was still able to live to tell the tale. It was probably the greatest achievement of my entire life, now and forever. I had hoped that I could just file a police report and get back to my normal life. But I was too naive. The police sent an officer to investigate my claims and he asked me to accompany him. But the investigation turned out to be very dispiriting. The heavy rain and landslides overnight had washed away all of the evidence from where Pi and I had first met. The warehouse that had been used to imprison me belonged to a key factory that had gone bankrupt a long time ago. No useful clues remained in the warehouse except for my own fingerprints. The gate to Apple Manor was locked. According to the official records, the owner had gone abroad a few years ago. We were not allowed to enter without a warrant. But when I was in the bathroom of the police station, I overheard something that depressed me even more. About that young unemployed man, he said he was unwilling to tell his family about the case. Don't you think that's a little suspicious? Exactly, what he told us was so outlandish. Pi is a serial killer who can easily take out a professional boxer. Why would he possibly let such an otaku escape? There's more. He said he had heard the voice of Pi and that it sounded like, what was it exactly? Oh right, a vampire. Ah, what a hoot. Maybe he's a junkie, who knows? So many young people these days just don't want to get a real job. They live off of their rich family and just mess around with drugs. Should look into him instead, I think. What about his case then? Just tell him we'll keep investigating, you know, the usual nonsense. In any case, don't bother with it too much. We're not in charge of Pi's cases anyway. I don't want to waste my time on this. I sat on the toilet, totally stunned. I thought that as long as I told everything to the police, they would surely be able to follow the leads and capture Pi. I thought that they would at least be able to protect me. But now I had nothing but contempt for these useless police. Nothing but contempt. And even more contempt on top of that. I even have contempt for the contempt that I have for them. Fine, if you people don't believe me, I'll prove it myself. I hacked into the surveillance system of Apple Manor. There was indeed not a living soul in the manor. Everything had been meticulously cleaned up by Pi. When I was about to exit the system and clean up any traces of my invasion, I accidentally noticed a video file named after me in the storage system. Downloading, playing. I thought it would be a video about me, but it was just a short video that lasted only for a few seconds. I will find you again. Well, that's ominous. No. I let out a scream and dropped my favorite Spotty mug. It was smashed into pieces. What was worse was that the video reminded me of that time Pi kidnapped me from home while I was asleep. I was basically a pathetic lamb, waiting to be slaughtered if I just stayed at home like this. Should I call the police? Don't be silly, they would never take me seriously until I became a dead body. Should I leave Hong Kong? But then it would be like the time when I left Beijing all over again. Perhaps I have had to admit to myself that I was a complete and utter loser. In my senior year, I had a huge crush on a lovely girl. I'd stalked her, taken photos in secret and written her anonymous letters. I never had the courage to simply tell her how I felt face to face. Then the photos I took were exposed online, causing her tons of trouble. I remembered the day when those photos had been posted. 2 boys from the lower grade were harassing her. I gathered all of my courage and went up to stop them, thinking that I would teach them a lesson. As it turned out, I was the one who was then dragged into the bike parking area and beaten up. That was probably the bravest thing I had ever done in my entire life. I'd always been weak and useless. I wasn't able to help her win a tennis match. I couldn't appreciate an art exhibition. I didn't protect her when she was taken away by bad people. I didn't take her to the hospital when she was ill and passed out. I couldn't even teach some punk kids from the lower grade a lesson. How would it even be possible for her to like someone like me? Eventually, I gave up on telling her how I felt. Instead, I ran back to Hong Kong after graduation. I also declined all of the jobs that father had found for me. It wasn't that I didn't like those jobs. I was just too worried that if I screwed up, father would know about it, and I would get scolded by him. But then I never really went out looking for jobs myself either. Eventually, I became a pathetic otaku. I was still good at playing video games, but the only reason was that in the game I would never have to deal with any real responsibilities, win or lose. I've been running away for my entire life. Where could I even run away to this time? Did I really want to hide in the digital world again? I stared at Pi's short message, completely focused, for 5 hours from noon until sunset. I finally made up my mind. I took a deep breath and dropped the throw pillow on the floor. A few minutes later, I had recorded a video myself too with my own message. Come at me, bastard. Uploading. For the next 3 days, I collected everything I could find about Pi on the internet, from rumors in random forums to the internal archives of the Hong Kong Police Department Criminal Division. Like a detective on a TV show, I had written down all of the tips on post-it notes. Well, is the tip to have a sip of my coffee so I can read better? Don't mind if I yes. I then pinned them up on a board and connected the clues with threads. The common characteristics shared among Pi's chosen targets. Yeah, we already know all of this. Only used knives, preferred to strike at places that the victims frequented, such as their own homes and workplaces, so that it could be quickly discovered and serve as some sort of warning. Preferred to strike during unusual hours of the day. If there wasn't a suitable time window or the window was too short, he would strike at another location and transport the body to his preferred location later. Depending on the sins or fetishes of the victims, Pi would always perform some ritual either before or after the attack to inflict maximum suffering upon the victim. It was typically done before. Afterwards, he would always thoroughly clean up the crime scene. Finally, he would always leave his own trademark, a smiley face. Pi must have been patient, meticulous and intelligent person. Now that I had holed up myself at home, he must have been getting ready to come and get me. I had to be even more prepared and ready for when he eventually did. I decided to never set one foot out of my door again and relied solely on home deliveries. Whenever the food was delivered, I would tell the delivery guy to leave the food at the door. I would only open the door when I could and make sure that nobody was outside, and I would leave my bags of trash out when I brought in my food. I'd heard some ladies yelling about me leaving the garbage out in the hallway, but I had no other choice. If I went downstairs to dump my garbage, Pi would be sure to find an opportunity to kill me. If I didn't throw the garbage away and if Pi didn't show up for 6 months, I would probably be crushed by my own trash before he killed me. It was a matter of life and death. I didn't want to be remembered as the first person in Hong Kong ever to be killed by his own garbage. Of course, I had also installed a full homemade alarm system in my home, and I never went to bed without a knife and pepper sprays in my hands. This had been my life for 2 months. It was a Tuesday. As usual, I had called for my delivery, and I was watching anime on my computer as I waited for my dinner. The bell to my apartment rang. The delivery guy showed up in the monitor. "Come on up, just leave the bag at the door." My adrenaline level had risen to the highest it had ever been. For the last 2 months, I'd only ever ordered deliveries from Pizza Hut. One way to not infringe on like a trademark. The closest one to my place had a total of 28 employees, 7 of whom would be out doing the deliveries. Lefty, Nima, Uncle Quan, Terry, Sonny, plus 2 cooks who occasionally did the legwork too, Sister Wang and Brother Feng. I remembered everything about them. I could even tell the distance between the mole on Sister Wang's face and the corner of her mouth in millimeters. This delivery guy downstairs had a mole at the corner of his eye, and incredibly pale skin. He was obviously not one of those 7 people. Meanwhile, Pizza Hut hadn't hired a new employee for 2 whole years as business hadn't been going too well for them. Moreover, the manager, Old Lou, had always hated good-looking young men. He would never have hired some new guy like this. I logged into the surveillance system and ran some programs. My PDA screen immediately started showing a video from a hidden camera. On the screen, I got up from my computer and walked into the bathroom. The screen then switched to the view inside the bathroom. I started to undress, stepped into the bathtub, and closed the shower curtain. The screen switched again to what was behind the shower curtain. A naked me turned on the shower. Outside of the screen, though, I was still sitting in front of my computer. Based on the games Pi had played with me, I was confident that Pi must have been a competent hacker himself. Chances were that he was holding a PDA right now and looking at the exact same video while he was coming up the stairs. I grabbed the knife and the pepper spray. I walked into the bathroom, I turned on the shower, I closed the shower curtain, and I turned to the laundry basket sitting in the corner. I bought it especially for today. It was an extra large one, large enough to hide an entire person. Suddenly I felt like I had forgotten something important. I opened the lid. Shit, I didn't do my laundry. Not now. I would always carelessly throw my dirty clothes into the basket every time I changed out of them, telling myself that I would do the laundry next time. But I had forgotten that after 2 months of never actually doing the laundry, the basket was now full. Crap. If I pulled out the dirty clothes and dumped them on the floor, Pi would be sure to notice that something was suspicious. Well, Rocky used to always mock me about this. Now I was paying for it. Time kept ticking ahead. Right at this moment, Pi was probably already standing at my door and getting out his key to unlock the door. What should I do? Was there anything else in the bathroom that I could hide inside? The toilet? How on earth could I hide inside that? All of a sudden, the bathroom door was slowly pushed open. It was Pi, standing at the doorway carrying a pizza box, looking right at me. He tipped the Pizza Hut hat that was on his head, that was a tongue twister, and smiled at me like a true gentleman. Long time no see. I panicked, and I even forgot that I had a knife in my hand. I just nervously raised the pepper spray like an idiot. But Pi was faster. He pulled out a can of God knows what and immediately sprayed it all over my face. How could this have happened? I had planned so carefully, waited for so long, yet I still ended up like this. Was it my fate to die at his hands? When my consciousness had finally returned to this world, Pi was standing right in front of me. This time there was no costume, no mask, no voice modulator. You must have thought that I would just kill you in your home and finish it all, right? Well, to be honest, the games that we played together were really enjoyable, so it would be a shame to just kill you off like that. In return, I've made some special arrangements just for you this time. An even more spectacular arcade. He gestured behind him. It wasn't a very large room, but I could see all kinds of horrifying tools and devices everywhere. This time the game would be played on nightmare level. Dear me.